And don't forget, MAGA was my idea. MAGA was nobody else's idea. I know what MAGA wants better than anybody else.
I think Trump doth protest too much, perhaps. First of all, make America great again. He was not the first person to say it. It's fine, like conservatives seem to like it. I guess he gets some credit for that or whatever. But like right now, I think there's a real open question about whether the MAGA movement is just him, either the official MAGA movement or like the people who were super into the MAGA movement. Because as we covered yesterday on the show, there's this new trend online of people who used to be MAGA taking off their red hats and putting on their blue hats that have America first, America only. It's the AFAU movement, I've christened it. And so is he starting to fall up? Like he says in that video, I alone know what MAGA wants, but does he? Because he's making a lot of blunders. They don't seem to like his position on Israel. They don't seem to like his unwillingness to acknowledge inflation. Some of them aren't happy about the whole H-1B visa thing. And obviously Epstein has been a big story throughout the year. And he seems to really not get that. Now, he does give some indications that he knows that politically they're in trouble. I mean, after all, he's focusing so much on gerrymandering, seemingly understanding that the only way they're gonna maintain control of the House is by cheating their way to it. And so at one point, I think last night I took this screenshot, it was 3 straight messages just about how we need to clear out all of those bastard rhinos in Indiana that won't gerrymander for him. And some of them, by the way, are now bending after all of this pressure, but that's an indication that he gets that the movement is not, in terms of the polling, going the way that he would like. He had that bad interview with Laura Ingraham. I mean, that clip was from it, but she was pressing him on things like H-1B visas and all of that. And that's some pressure on him. Of course, there's the Epstein vote, which could happen any moment now. It's expected to happen today. And some people think the vote is going to be unanimous, which is not how it looked just a few weeks ago. Charlie Cook, the producer or publisher of the Cook Political Report, says silence among the GOP lawmakers has been the dog that didn't bark, which is an expression getting a lot of play these days, and for a really long time. And now they're starting to yelp a little bit. They're kind of stepping out, but gingerly. And the Epstein vote is an indication of that. He didn't want that to happen, but he has lost his ability to stop it. He now has to pretend that he wants it to happen. Of course, he also wanted the filibuster to be destroyed, and they haven't thus far been willing to give him that. This is a level of opposition to Donald Trump's will that we haven't really seen from Republicans in the past. And while all this is going on, what is he focusing on? Like, sure, gerrymandering, that's political, I guess. Ballrooms and marble bathrooms and I don't know, that weird walkway of the presidents and paving over the Rose Garden. It's all this surface level weird elite stuff. We just found out yesterday he had to be stopped from putting up a chandelier in the Oval Office because evidently the room wouldn't support the weight of the crazy chandelier he wanted to put on. And this is not the sign of a guy who really has the pulse of the movement. It's a guy who is just sort of like full of himself, happy in the luxury that he's got. I don't know, Trey, what do you think? We were talking about something like this earlier today, but what do you make of it?
Yeah, I was going to say, kind of maybe betrayed my initial position earlier when talking about how I agreed with Ben Shapiro when he said that MAGA is Donald Trump and nothing else. That's certainly the way it's generally been. I mean, yeah, I can see some sort of cracks forming here, as you've outlined. I think that you could argue in both directions. I think what it comes down to is a ratio at the end of the day, because I fully believe that there's a certain percentage of what has been MAGA who are immovable when it comes to him. And I mean, it's like, who do you think is giving Marjorie Taylor Greene all these death threats, right? Yeah. There's been clips of people, literally justifying like pedophilia and child sexual abuse and that type of stuff, like calling into radio shows and podcasts and things that have gone viral this week from MAGA people who are like, that's how hard they're swinging. Like they'll justify that if that's what it takes to stay loyal to Donald Trump. So like there's still out there for sure, and I think that those people, I really don't think there is a line that can be crossed. But what I don't know is what percentage of what, again, we have been calling MAGA, what percentage of that is made up of those people versus the ones who, whatever, they need some kind of deity or icon, but they're willing to replace Trump with another one at the end of the day. And I don't know, I guess time will tell, but that's one of the major questions of our age, I think, is, waiting to see how that ultimately turns out. Because also, look, there's like a pragmatism to it too. Not that that's been a hallmark of theirs, but that he's he's old and infirm and everything. Like, Father Time is undefeated. Like, they're going to have to figure something else out at some point, and I'm sure that's at least crossed some of their minds. So, I don't know, maybe some cracks are forming. But yeah, like you said, in the meantime, it all feels like legacy stuff to me. Like he's like become aware of his mortality or something lately. It feels like we're talking about like, am I going to heaven, and all this like this stuff that he's building up. He's building up this like a palace, like like a pharaoh or something. He's like trying to turn DC into the capital like from the Hunger Games. Like it's weird.
Yeah, it does have that feel of like wanting to build a pyramid or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I think every president eventually loses control over the party. Like you become a lame duck. That's more in my mind. Like this is sort of getting tied up with the whole MAGA thing because he's not just a president, he is the head of this insane cultish movement. But I think this is kind of a weird version of the normal thing that happens, which is normally after the midterms, they would be moving on to who's gonna be the next president. He starts to lose his control. I just feel like with how clearly the midterms are going against them, that process is just happening a little bit faster than normal. And you combine that with, as you say, the expectation that he could drop any day. I'm not saying he's going to, I expect he'll live a couple more years. But if he were to just drop this weekend, would you be shocked? I mean, look at how viral, when he didn't tweet for a few days and he didn't show up in public, a lot of people believed he died because it's plausible at this point. And so I think a lot of politicians who expect that their careers will last longer than the next 2 years are looking ahead to what's gonna happen after Donald Trump. And I think all those things are combining in an interesting way. If you enjoyed that, make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming an actual member. But you're probably wondering, why the hell would I do that, John? First off, calm down. The stakes in this are very, very low. But also, when you click the join button and you become a member, you get access to bonus content that I make every week, and it's a ton of fun. You get access to tons of custom emojis and more besides that. By the way, if you join at tier 3, you even get access to a monthly member hangout with myself and other awesome people, and we always have a great time. By the way, you'll get all that going forward, but you also unlock years of the back catalog. That is literally 100 or more bonus clips, top 10 lists, debates, and more. What are you waiting for? Click the join button below. Your support powers our show, and we couldn't do it without you. Or at the very least, I wouldn't really want to try. Viewers like you keep me here. So thank you in advance for joining.